It is about global warming. Not enough is being done about this, and it'll get worse. What do you think?
I think it already has gotten worse. I think we're way down the road here. We're in big trouble, and we're still having a debate in Congress as to whether or not there really is global warming. I'm just saying that, you know, the people, and it's the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans believe that we've got a climate problem, and the majority of Americans believe in science.
But let me ask you this.
And we've allowed the ignoramuses to run the show on this, and this storm should really put an end to that.
Could it possibly be that the fact that we've only been measuring weather since 1898, could it just be a global cyclical weather thing that's going down? That actually it's not global warming, it is something that may have happened 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago. You get pockets of this, and we just don't have the records to back that up. Could it be that?
Well, I'll answer the way Mayor Bloomberg answered this afternoon. Yeah, could be that. You want to take the risk? You want to take the risk of that?
Let me bring
What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And we're not prepared, like we weren't prepared for this, and we won't be prepared for the next thing. We weren't prepared for the drought this summer. I mean, how many times do we have to get punched in the face before we realize, you know what, somebody's punching me in the face?
Let's bring somebody who's used to taking the blows, CNN meteorologist Chad Myers. Chad, you've been in this game nearly 3 decades. Yeah. Is this global warming that we're seeing, from a meteorological point of view, is there any other explanation?
I don't have, it's the prime suspect. I don't have another one. I mean, maybe particulates in the air so the raindrops the moisture can get on the drops and get bigger. But I'll tell you what, I think probably Sandy would have existed without global warming. Don't get me wrong. But the water was warmer. The water is 1 degree warmer now than it was in 1970. That 1 degree warmer probably made the storm 10% stronger. Now, doesn't sound like a big deal. But if you take that 10%, you realize that if you double the wind speed from 20 to 40 miles per hour, you have now raised the force of that wind by 4 times. And then you go 40 to 80. And now all of a sudden you're not just double, you're now 16 times where you were on 20 to 80. So that 10% seems like a small number, but that 10% was enough of an increase to make this whole thing a superstorm. Then you have to get into, was there a blocking high over Greenland because there's no sea ice up there this year? Then that's a whole other thing, because without that blocking high, this storm turns out into the ocean.
Let me bring Michael back. Michael's chomping at the bit to get into something you said.
Yeah, no, Chad, I want to ask you a question. We've had 50-degree weather here in New York this week during this storm. I have never heard of a hurricane occurring in 50-degree weather. Yeah. I mean, seriously, if people are just thinking this is some freak accident of nature, I just think that's a dangerous road to go down.
Yeah, Sandy developed in the tropics, and sometimes the tropics and the mid-latitudes sometimes they don't get together. And what could have happened had that blocking high not been there, it would have turned out to sea and it would have been a big gutter ball. But that blocking high was there, turned it back to the United States, and then the cold air that you talked about, Michael, gets sucked up into this thing, even enhances it more, and we've got ourselves what we called Superstorm Sandy.
Just in case anybody missed it in Chad's last comment, he mentioned that the sea ice in Greenland is gone. It's gone this summer, melted. I mean,
do you believe the science is now incontrovertible?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And when you hear many Republicans, it must be said, say the science is just a load of bunk, what do you say to them?
These are the same people that say that Adam and Eve wrote on dinosaurs 6,000 years ago. Okay? I consider the source. And what I would say to them is what I just said to you. Let's say that, you know, maybe you're right, but you want to take the chance that maybe you're not right. Because what's the harm in preparing or changing our way of life so that we don't destroy the planet? We are destroying the planet. And as the emerging third world buys cars and builds cars and does things, they're going to want the same thing we've had, and that atmosphere of ours isn't going to take it.
Chad Myers, thank you very much for now. We'll be back after the break. We're going to go to Gary Tupman.